can do is just tell the truth and trust in the American people that over time they're going to know what the truth is.
Yes, it is time for the truth. Right here, right now. This is the Conservative Syndicate. Real conservative talk from real conservatives. With your host, John Matthews.
The latter-day prophet. Baying against the hypocrisies of our time.
And Joe Hakos.
You want answers.
I want the truth. You can't handle the truth.
The Conservative Syndicate is comprised of some of the most informed pundits and activists available today. Together, we seek to tear down the imaginary wall, a separation between church and state through education, information, and engagement on the religion of politics and the politics of religion. And now, your hosts on the globally syndicated Conservative Syndicate, John Matthews and Joe Hakos.
And how are we doing this great Monday? About as good as you're going to get for Monday. We're glad to be with you today. Glad you took the time to join us today. You're listening to the Conservative Syndicate, real conservative talk from real conservatives. And I'm your host, John Matthews, along with my co-host from Joe Hakos, and we are here to educate, inform, and engage you, our listening audience, as to the religion of politics and the politics of religion. We're glad you took time to join us, beginning of yet another week of chaos, dazed and confused all around the country. And it's just amazing to see how this whole election process is playing out. Just, I don't know, a first for me, first in my lifetime to see something like this to this level. And it doesn't seem like anybody on either side in any direction has one iota of understanding as to what has caused this and where it's going, especially the Republican Party. I'm amazed. These guys are either the dumbest people walking the streets right now or the most willfully or in denial beyond a shadow of a doubt. I mean, it's historical, the amount of ignorance that's being displayed by this Republican Party this election cycle. And it's probably been existent for a lot longer, but the frustration of the silent majority has brought some things to our attention and brought things to the surface that most of us, I mean, myself included, am kind of been in the dark about myself. So it's some ways it's informative, but in a lot of ways it's revelation. I mean, it's like I almost feel like sometimes I'm reading the Bible. The revelation is so clear. Anyway, having said that, let me bring on Joe. Joe, how you doing tonight?
I am wonderful, John. I'd like to thank everybody for being here. It's another start of another week here on the Conservative Syndicate. We're going to have a great time.
Yeah, we got some good stuff lined up for you this week. I'm waiting to get confirmation. Don Dix from Act for America, who usually comes on every other week, and I'm trying to get him on now every week. On Tuesday, Audrey Russo from Real Talk made her debut with us last week, and she'll be with us again this Wednesday. And then we have, hopefully, Patricia Dixon, a writer for American Thinker. I'm confirming with her. I've been on the phone with Trevor Loudon. I'm trying to get Trevor Loudon on the show. We're just playing phone tag right now. He's traveling around a lot, and we're leaving messages for each other, so we'll see what happens there. And then, of course, Bob Cardoso from Robert Cardoso Live. So we got a lot of people coming on this week. And just to do what we do best, that is just to try to keep you up to date on what real conservatism is about, what it sounds and looks like, and compared to everything else, how much idiocy is out there. The idiocracy is well under construction here in the United States of America. So
yeah, the idiocy that you're talking about with the Republicans. I sent you an email. That's probably one of the main things right there, how stupid these people actually are. Yeah,
well, we are so quick to do this. So when we see stuff like this and we go, what are these people thinking? That is still something that has not sunk into the skulls of the American electorate when they talk about Obama. I still listen to newscasters and pundits especially say things like, Obama doesn't know what he's doing. He doesn't know what he's doing. Don't give me that crap. This guy has planned his whole life around what's going on right now. This is his wet dream is exactly what's taking place right now. And that's why he's so calm, cool, and collected. That's why he can sit at the Washington Correspondents' Dinner and just chuckle at a C-level comedian using the N-word. And he just sits there and can just chuckle. Yeah. This guy's, I pulled it off. You're right. I've pulled it off. And, and I think it's the same with the Republican Party. I'm beginning to wonder, unless they're all sitting around, making their own wine back in John Boehner's cellar or something, and it's just, alcohol poisoning or something. I firmly have just come to believe that the Republican establishment, just like the Democrat establishment, knows exactly what they're doing. They know exactly what their end game is. And it's so instructive here, like this email that Joe sent me over the weekend. And I looked at it and I said, let's talk about this. Joe, I'll let you. Do you have the email in front of you? I'll let you read it, or I can read it, whichever way you want to go.
I do have it. So it says, Joseph, I wanted to make sure you saw the message my friend Paul Ryan sent to you. And this is from Mitch McConnell.
Okay, yeah.
And as Speaker of the House, Paul understands the stakes better than anyone. Paul and I cannot stress enough. Conservatives need a Republican Senate majority. And if you want to go from there, because I got to throw up a little bit in my mouth.
Okay. Now, understand the context of this first statement this first line that Joe just read here. As Speaker of the House, Paul understands the stakes better than anyone. Paul and I cannot stress it enough. Conservatives need a Republican Senate majority. Now, remember, this has been the mantra. This has been the mantra since Obama came into power. Okay, is that the Republicans they need the majority in the House and the Senate, both chambers of Congress, if they are going to do anything to restore the great republic under the conservative banner here. Okay, now the next line here: without Republican leadership in both chambers of Congress, conservatives will not be able to pass the policies necessary to get our country back on track and restore the American dream. And we have to ask that question. What conservatives are you talking about, Mitch McConnell? Are you talking about the Freedom Caucus, the guys that you shut down and ostracize and take money away from when they stand up and try to do what you just said, to promote and advance a conservative agenda using conservative ideals and ideology based on conservative principles that will equate into either conservative legislation or repeal of liberal legislation? Is that the conservatives you're talking about, Mitch? Because you sure the hell ain't talking about you. You're sure not talking about Paul Ryan. You're talking about somebody that, and we constantly, the reason we're bringing this up is because we constantly echo this one idea here to you, our listening audience. Conservatives means something completely different to conservatives than it does to people like Mitch McConnell. And they use that word. They trot it out every election cycle. Yep. So that we all feel patriotic and, we got a guy out there rooting for us, They're
on our side, yeah.
Yeah, let's all those conservatives now band together. And the other thing I want you to notice here in the context of this, notice no mention of the White House. This is all about, this letter came from, the National Republican Senate Committee. Okay, yeah. These guys, with this money they're asking for here, because that's what they end up doing. They end up asking for money.
They want money. This is all it is. They want money. Yeah, and you tell them to stop. They don't stop. They send you more of these emails.
Yeah, and this is between the mail that we get in the mail, the hard mail, the snail mail, that comes in with all these great surveys. What things are important to you? And by the way, send us $25 so that we can, as conservatives, restore and reform and bring our republic back, limited government and yada, yada, yada. Okay, that kind of thing. Okay, we need your help, he goes on to say, to protect our Republican Senate majority this year. So it's all, who the hell cares gets the White House? We don't want Trump in there. We don't want Cruz in there. We're okay if Hillary's there because she's more our kind of gal. And that kind of thing. And, of course, a deadline. You got to have a deadline here. We need it now. We need it right now. It's the Obama thing. We need it right now. Got to have it right now. And we will be triple matching every dollar you give to maximize your impact. Who's going to be triple matching this?
Where's this money coming from that the Senate committee?
Are you throwing in $3 for every dollar that I send?
Is that coming out of the majority leader of the Senate slush fund?
Yeah. Is it coming out of your PAC, your super PAC, if you got one out there? Maybe Karl Rove's footing the bill. I don't know. But it's just this whole letter is so indicative of what happens in every election cycle. The rhinos come out, and the leadership of the Republican Party, as they call it, that's an oxymoronic term there, leadership. But they're just, they are leading. They're just leading us down the threshold of destruction. But the point is they come out every election cycle and trot the buzzwords out there. We got Republican leadership. We've got conservative legislation we need to pass, and we need the majority in order to do that.
And we want your money. Just send us your money. We don't really care about anything else, but send us your money.
Yeah, and we'll put you back on the shelf till the next election cycle. Yeah. And and you guys, you obstructionists, you real conservatives, you obstructionists, extremists, you Trumpsters or whatever, however they want to phrase and however they want to label us. And again, that's another oxymoronic term.
Let's talk about that after the break.
A Trump conservative, for crying out loud. A Trump conservative. Gag me.
They're actually supporting.
Yeah, gag me with a spoon, for crying out loud. Okay, we got to go to a break. When we come back, we will continue right here at the Conservative Syndicate. Don't go away. You can catch all our archives at theconservativesyndicate.net. The Conservative Syndicate. Real conservative talk from real conservatives.
When our water heater broke down last month, it was a nightmare. It took 5 hours for the plumber to show up, and he charged us a couple of $100 just to come out. Then it cost another $1,800 to put in the new water heater. By the time it was all said and done, I felt like I'd been taken. But what else could I do?
The smartest thing you can do is get a home warranty from American Residential Warranty. Their home warranties pay to repair or replace all your major appliances when they break, and they will break, and at the worst possible time. Call American Residential Warranty right now for free information on home warranties starting at just pennies a day. Don't wait for your refrigerator to stop running or your ceiling fans to stop turning. Call American Residential Warranty right now. Ask how you can save up to 50% on washer and dryer coverage. Just call 1-800-790-5960. That's 1-800-790-5960. Again, 1-800-790-5960. Call now.
Prices are for base buildings only. May not be available in some areas. Attention business owners, do you want a stimulus package that really works? Before you spend thousands of dollars more than you should on your next building project, listen to this. General Steel has a stimulus package designed to help you save as much as half the cost of conventional construction on your next building. As much as half. That's right, General Steel can save you thousands of dollars with a pre-engineered steel building designed for your business or church. How about a 50 by 100 foot building for under $30,000? So don't pay thousands more than you should without calling General Steel first and save as much as half the cost and time of conventional construction. With the projected demand for steel in Japan and China, prices may be skyrocketing.
877-927-3360. 877-927-3360. 877-927-3360.
Time offer, 24-month commitment and credit qualification require cancellation fee, auto pay, and paperless billing, and other restrictions apply. If you can't see the difference, why pay the difference? Switch to Dish for the best deal in entertainment. Only Dish brings you the best in entertainment for less than $20 a month. Cut the cable and don't get directed. Switch to Dish because at just $19.99, Dish saves you every time you turn on the TV. It's so simple. The same channels cost less with Dish. So since you can't see the difference, don't pay the difference. Switch to Dish for the best deal in entertainment. Get premium movie channels free for 3 months, starting at just $19.99. Dish saves you every time you turn on the TV. Call now to save with Dish. Dial 1-800-600-1645. That's 1-800-600-1645. The same channels for less than $20 a month. Dish. Call 1-800-600-1645 for details.
Folks, if you're like me, you don't place a whole lot of trust in today's media for the real truth and facts regarding the volatile world of finance and politics. When I want the real scoop on money, I go to the most trusted source I know, my good friend and colleague, Bob Cardosa. Bob is a noted expert with a PhD in international finance who airs his nationally known, globally syndicated show, Robert Cardoso Live, daily, Monday through Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific Time. With Bob, you'll get the right information at the right time from someone who knows his business and can help you make the right decision concerning yours. Again, Bob airs daily, Monday through Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific Time. Visit his website at robertcardosolive.com for information regarding stations and topics. That's robertcardosolive.com. Check Bob out. You'll be glad you did.
Read something recently worth thinking about. It's the soldier, not the campus organizer, who's given us freedom to demonstrate. It's the soldier, not the reporter, who's given us freedom of the press. It's the soldier, not the poet, who's given us freedom of speech. It's the soldier who serves under the flag, who defends the protesters' right to burn the flag. Isn't it time now to demonstrate that we support our troops? Were it not for the brave, there'd be no land of the free.
Fred Thompson's message was brought to you by citizensunited.org.
We're back right here at the Conservative Syndicate, and boy, do we have something for you right now. We're going to be talking here, I don't know, a kind of a revelation. This may just turn out to be a day of revelation for all of you out there, as it is with us here at the Conservative Syndicate. Some of this stuff, you just can't write better stuff. You can't make this stuff up. And I don't know how many of you were aware that this weekend there was the California Republican Party convention. And what took place up at this convention was the idea of candidates picking slates for the convention in Cleveland in July. Okay, now we have talked about off and on in this show about how each state has their respective primaries and how they set things up. And they have primaries, actual primaries, where the voters go to the booth and they determine, the majorities determine how much. Some states are, if you get 50% plus one, you get winner take all. Some of them are proportional, depending on the amount of votes, number of votes that you get, or percentage of votes that you get. Then there is the idea of caucuses. Caucuses are chosen delegates by voters at state and county conventions, and then these caucus goers get together and they vote and they determine who receives the number of delegates to any given candidate. Well, then there's slates. And California is one of those states that have slates, and the way a slate works is that the candidates come into town and they pick the districts that they would like to represent them. And then they look for what they call a plurality of districts, meaning districts that get chosen more than once usually end up in the pool that actually end up going to the convention and representing the state in the form of delegates that way. And then you have some place like Arizona, which I want to talk about in a minute here, where it's a combination of both, and you're going to love how that turned out. But anyway, up here in California, we had the convention. It started out on Friday, and some of you may have seen the news about the riot that took place. They call it protesters in the media, but there were rioters that showed up and caused disturbances, and there were some assaults. 27. The numbers are 17 to 20 arrests, some destruction of taxpayer property, police cars, things like that. Cars were trounced on by these protesters, demonstrators, rioters. That's the word I'm looking for, rioters. And there were some assaults and stuff like that. So Trump heads up to up north where the convention is being held, and he is scheduled to speak on Friday. I believe it was Thursday that he was down here in Costa Mesa. That's about 20 miles from where I sit right now. So Then he went up north, and he was scheduled to do lunch and the dinner, I believe, on Friday night, or maybe he was at the lunch speaker. I think Kasich was the evening guy on Friday night. Anyway, the protesters, the rioters, followed him up there. And the point I want to make here is that there was very little news coverage on any of this once the rioting started. And it's kind of more than coincidence that because there was violence that was instigated by leftist rioters disguised as people waving Mexican flags and things like that. They've had the children out there. I've seen pictures of it. I got the human shields out there. The little 8-year-old kid, don't take my mommy back, to Mexico and this, that, and the other. But very little coverage from the media in terms of what was going on in terms of the violence. Trump was blocked from going into the building to give his speech, had to go around the back way, I guess, to get in or whatever. And very little coverage from the media. And one has to ask why. What's your opening salvo on this, Joe?
Well, why? Because one, it puts a bad light on this process, and then what they won't say is these are leftists trying to prevent people from participating in the electoral process that they have a right to participate in. So they try to stop it, and they're protesting, they're rioting against quote unquote violence that quote unquote the Republicans are espousing, and they're being violent while they're doing it, right, which is just typical.
Well, here, let's kind of give you a little bit of a breakdown of the players down there. I finally found an article here as we were talking here. I could find very little outside of the initial report that was done by CNN. And when CNN doesn't cover something like this, because they love the video stuff. In the media, that's the only qualification you have to be a news story, is if you've got pictures or some kind of video. That's one of the things that I've noticed. I know out here in California, some of the things they report out here is just so ludicrously stupid. But because they have video, they use it. It becomes a headline story because they got the video of some kid dropping their ice cream cone in Walmart and somebody steps on it and slips. Well, who cares? That probably happens a million times a day. But because somebody got footage of it, that'll become the headline story. That's how California is out here. I don't know how the rest of the world is, but I know out here, video is everything. And if you got video, for instance, let me kind of just go off here just for a second here. Let me give you a perfect example. Up in Ventura, I lived up in Ventura for 14 years. Over the weekend, there was a pharmacy up there that was broken into. And apparently this pharmacy hasn't figured out how to put up bars on their windows, because it was like the third time this pharmacy's been hit. And the people break in. And so Sunday morning, we see the news reporter up there. And what she's doing is she's walking around with a camera, and they're looking at the glass on the ground. She goes, yeah, you can see the glass here. And then you look over the door, and you go, see, the door is broken. And I'm like, okay, so what's the big deal? What's the big deal here? But the fact that they had a camera, somebody was there, and then they try to build up on the sensationalism of this pharmacy being broke into, and it's only 100 feet away from a home, that kind of stuff. And so everybody's just fearful. Oh yeah, let's just strike the fear of God into everybody, because somebody's breaking into the pharmacy to steal whatever it is they were stealing, obviously medication of some kind. Okay. So, but here I am looking at the Breitbart. Breitbart put up an article. The first picture they show is like an 8-9-year-old kid standing with a sign that says, "Make America Mexico Again." Okay? You turn around, you go down a little bit further, and what do you have? You have Black Lives Matter people. I don't know, where did Black Lives Matter people come into the Trump thing? Well, I've never heard Trump say anything about Black Lives Matter or black people or anything else. We've talked about...
The only thing he's ever said about them is let them come and try to take the microphone from me like they did Bernie Sanders.
Okay. But, I mean, he's never come out and said things that supposedly are insightful. He hasn't talked about blacks being a bad segment of society. He's talked about, of course, illegal immigrants, Mexico sending some of their bad people up here, which we know that to be true. It's not that he hasn't been saying anything that isn't true. The Muslims, just keep them out until we find out who they are. But, the left can spin that stuff. But all of a sudden, how did Black Lives Matter get involved in this? And they are like the main people.
Social justice warriors. Social justice warriors. That's what they are. They're what social justice. And Donald Trump is trying to oppress people.
Right. Yeah. Well, what they are, Black Lives Matter, if you don't know this by now, Black Lives Matter has become the protest arm or the rioting arm of the Bernie Sanders campaign. They have publicly endorsed Bernie Sanders. They are everything. When you go to these riots and you talk, 90% of the people I've heard talk on the media at these riots will tell you it's Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders is their guy. Bernie Sanders isn't a guy. I don't know what Bernie Sanders is going to do for the black community that he couldn't have done for the 40, 50 years he's been in the Senate. But the point being is that they've chosen him as the guy. Why? Because he is the guy that stands up there and calls for, quote-unquote, political revolution. He is the one calling for revolution. This is Bill Ayers. He's channeled Bill Ayers. This is the Weather Underground and the Black Panthers, and all this stuff has been rechanneled. In fact, I heard Bill Ayers right after the Chicago thing. Remember the Chicago disruptions down there in the Trump rally?
Yeah, he loved it.
Yeah, Bill Ayers came out on the media, I think it was CNN or someplace, and said, yeah, we did it. He came out and acknowledged, yeah, we did it. We were able to stop this rally. So that's where this is all coming from. This is all coming from that radical, violent arm of the Democrat Party, people like Bill Ayers and people like that, channeling Bill Ayers and what's the other guy, Malcolm X and all these other people that believe in violent overthrow of government. Okay, so that's why the media is not covering it.
Yeah, they won't cover that,
and they're not going to cover that.
And then they paint it as Donald Trump protesters. These people aren't Donald Trump anything.
Yeah, they're not. They're not. In fact, the article that I was looking at here by the Federalist, it was just published today. David Harsanyi, I guess is how you pronounce his name. David Harsanyi. Boy, I wish they'd get some people that you could pronounce names. More and more of these reporters, I don't even know what country they're from. David Harsanyi from the Federalist, but I'll give him slack because the Federalist is rather conservative in their slant. But anyway, he's asking this question: Why is the media not talking about the violence coming from the left? And see, if this was a Hillary Clinton rally, and Trumpsters were up there doing what these people are doing, if they were standing around with signs saying, "Hey, let's just send them all back to Mexico," or let's put Hillary in a yellow jumpsuit or orange jumpsuit or something like that, damn well the media would be up there in force, in mass. We'd have every pundit in the world giving their 2 cents as to what Trump is bringing to America and what Trump is causing in America in terms of division, hatred, and violence. And yet this is taking place right here in a state, by the way, that for the first time in probably since Reagan, a state that may play a part, if not in the GOP primary, perhaps even in the general election. It could happen. If Trump does win the nomination and he is able to turn New York, which he could do, I'd give him a 50-50 shot at being able to get the Electoral College or the electoral votes out of New York. If that occurred, what's to say there couldn't be some kind of effect in California? What's to say that if Ted Cruz somehow pulls this thing off, whether through a contested convention or whatever, or a brokered convention, or however it goes down, listen, what would be the chances if Cruz could come out here in California and turn California on the Republican side? So you would think that in and of itself would be enough for them to want to look at California and say, well, the California's playing into this thing somehow.
It's shameful that they didn't cover it as much, or at least cover it honestly and report it honestly. It's really a shame that they don't do it. But then again, we should learn to expect this out of the media. They showed the Donald Trump stuff because, hey, it's Donald Trump. But then Trump wasn't there after Friday. Boom, it's like, time to go, time to leave, because it's not about Donald Trump. But hey, these leftists are still there being violent. And I think we're coming up on a break, John. Sorry.
Yeah. When we come back, Joe brought up an important point we're going to address here, and that is when we talk about this type of thing, the violence from the left and how the media does or does not cover it. And we go back to talking about the GOP establishment and what they do and why they're doing. They're out there once again asking us for their money, though us real conservatives and stuff. We want to identify who the establishment's actually against. We're going to talk about that when we come back. Stay with us right here at the Conservative Syndicate. I'm your host, John Matthews, along with Joe Hakos. We'll be right. You can catch all our archives at theconservativesyndicate.net. The Conservative Syndicate. Real conservative talk from real conservatives.
Limited time offer, 24-month commitment and credit qualification require cancellation fee, auto pay, and paperless billing and other restrictions apply. If you can't see the difference, why pay the difference? Switch to Dish for the best deal in entertainment. Only Dish brings you the best in entertainment for less than $20 a month. Cut the cable and don't get directed. Switch to Dish because at just $19.99, Dish saves you every time you turn on the TV. It's so simple. The same channels cost less with Dish. So since you can't see the difference, don't pay the difference. Switch to Dish for the best deal in entertainment. Get premium movie channels free for 3 months, starting at just $19.99. Dish saves you every time you turn on the TV. Call now to save with Dish. Dial 1-800-600-1645. That's 1-800-600-1645. The same channels for less than $20 a month. Dish. Call 1-800-600-1645 for details.
Attention taxpayers! If you've received a notice from the IRS or state, do not ignore it. It's also a big mistake to try and handle your tax problem on your own. If you owe back taxes, it's a fact that the government has the power to take everything you own, including your home, business, wages, savings, and your freedom. But here's the good news. There's a special toll-free tax hotline set up especially for you. This tax hotline will tell you about new programs that are geared to help you dramatically settle, reduce, or eliminate what you owe. But you have to call now. Take down this number or put it in your cell phone. But call 866-761-0959. 1-866-761-0959. When you call, you get free information on how you can reduce or eliminate back taxes, including penalties and interest. You can also be helped if you have unfiled returns, a tax lien, wage garnishment, bank levy, or if you've been entered into a payment plan but can't make the payments. Don't make the big mistake in thinking you can ignore or handle your tax problem on your own. You can stop the collection process immediately. Call this special tax hotline today for free info at 1-866-761-0959. That's 1-866-761-0959. 1-866-761-0959.
Term life insurance. It can be a powerful way to protect your assets and your family. You work hard to earn and save your money to build a nest egg for the future. Don't let it get wiped out because you didn't plan ahead. Take the time now and make a small investment in $500,000 or more in quality term life insurance. Call the Term Lifeline and let us shop the best companies to give you the lowest rates. We specialize in policies of $500,000 and above. Ask about some of our 10 and 20-year fixed-rate plans with guaranteed rates. Call the Term Lifeline right now for your free insurance quote. 800-870-3609. 800-870-3609. You owe it to yourself to protect your family and your assets. Make term life insurance part of that plan. Call the Term Lifeline right now. 800-870-3609. 800-870-3609.
Folks, if you're like me, you don't place a whole lot of trust in today's media for the real truth and facts regarding the volatile world of finance and politics. When I want the real scoop on money, I go to the most trusted source I know, my good friend and colleague, Bob Cardosa. Bob is a noted expert with a PhD in international finance who airs his nationally known, globally syndicated show, Robert Cardosa Live, daily, Monday through Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific Time. With Bob, you'll get the right information at the right time from someone who knows his business and can help you make the right decision concerning yours. Again, Bob airs daily, Monday through Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific Time. Visit his website at robertcardosalive.com for information regarding stations and topics. That's robertcardosalive.com. Check Bob out. You'll be glad you did.
Read something recently worth thinking about. It's the soldier, not the campus organizer, who's given us freedom to demonstrate. It's the soldier, not the reporter, who's given us freedom of the press. It's the soldier, not the poet, who's given us freedom of speech. It's the soldier who serves under the flag who defends the protesters' right to burn the flag. Isn't it time now to demonstrate that we support our troops? Were it not for the brave, there'd be no land of the free.
Fred Thompson's message was brought to you by citizensunited.org.
We're back, and you're listening to the Conservative Syndicate, real conservative talk from real conservatives, and it is that time. It's time for us to hook up with our good buddy over at the Bob Cardoso Show, Robert Cardoso Show. Hang on one second here. I got to get him dialed in here. Let's get him on here on the show and see what he's doing. I know.
Let the adventure begin.
Yeah, let the adventure begin. And I know Bob is on the cusp of some serious stuff here. He's going in for surgery, I think, for some kind of dental problem here. So let's see if he's got the guts to answer the phone. You there, Bob?
I answered the phone.
Okay.
I always answer the phone. It's sometimes if you guys have technical problems or if you're embarrassed by the answers that I have to give you, you just hang up on me.
Oh, no, we were just talking about how timid you were that you're facing some surgery tomorrow, right?
Well, I am I don't know that I'm timid, but I'm intimidated. I can give you that. I'm not looking forward to it at all. You know, I'm like a little kid. I keep telling myself that I'm going to tell this dentist, actually the oral surgeon, that we're not going to hurt each other, are we? The only problem with that is that I'm going to be out cold and I'm not going to be feeling any pain till I wake up, and he's going to be long gone.
Okay, well, I've been to the dentist a few times in the last few years. There's nothing worse than people sticking needles in my gums.
Yeah.
I take that back. Getting the vasectomy will do it too. Yeah.
That's no worse than getting hit in a bad spot with a sledgehammer, right?
Yeah, I went through one of those, and I can tell you do not want that kind of pain. You do.
I went through one of those years and years and years ago, yeah. John. And here's the thing: I no sooner did that, and I thought I was doing well. And in those years, I was working at thrifty drugstores. At the beginning of my career, and so I wasn't paying. I was kind of a young guy, and I was coming around the corner, going through one of those turnstiles that they had. There, and the turnstile didn't turn, and I hit that thing just right. I want to tell you, I just thought I was going to die.
Oh yeah, I can imagine that. I must have come off 2 feet off the table when they injected me the first time. I mean, literally, and my motivation was completely self-serving. I was in a rock band. And I thought, I don't want the lawsuits out there like everybody else was getting sued. So,
where are you going to stick that needle?
Anywho, hey, I'm wondering. I guess I'm wondering here. We're talking about the California GOP convention that took place this weekend up north here, and I was wondering if you noticed the lack of press coverage on this event once the rioters started up.
Well, I did notice everything because there has been no coverage of that event other than when Donald Trump made the comment that it was the most difficult building he had ever had to try to get into.
Yeah, he said it felt like I was crossing the border to get here.
I guess that wall just wasn't big enough, huh?
Well, I took it as a slight against his knowledge of foreign policy, because if he'd been coming across the border, it would have been with open arms.
Yeah, it would have made no difference. Now, the North Korean border, yeah, I could see that.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting you'd say that. Did any of you guys watch the, what do they call that, with the news thing with Obama?
Oh, the correspondence dinner?
Yeah, the correspondence dinner. I got a big kick out of it when they were talking about. First of all, I need to preface this by saying that I actually support Donald Trump. I like the guy, I like what I hope he will do. In any event, I got a big kick out of it when Obama said something that he's got a lot of foreign policy experience. He's met with the biggest leaders in the world, Miss Sweden, Miss Azerbaijan, Miss Jordan, that's the kind of foreign policy. You know what? I don't know that I'm opposed to that kind of foreign policy.
Well, go ahead, Joe. Go ahead.
Said he's just jealous.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just, You know, the event, as far as I could tell, I didn't watch it. I haven't really even read up on it outside of the the C level comedian using the N-word up there, which is so typical of Obama. You know, it's like, yeah, I got to have a black guy up here. You know, and one of my homies, you know, that kind of thing. Everything this guy does is now it's all about it. It really is, and it has been all about race. It's just
I think that I can't remember the guy's name that was doing that, but I got to tell you that has got to be one of the most embarrassing moments for any United States citizen that there is. The stuff that he was doing. First of all, it wasn't even well received by the crowd, and it wasn't received. And most of the comments that he made like that were not even well received by the black attendees that I could tell.
Well, I do know one comment that I really got a kick out of that came out of Obama's mouth. Like I said, I saw a couple of sound bites on the media, on the news. Like I said, I didn't watch the thing. I'm not really. You know, it's kind of like the Academy Awards. So what? You know, a bunch of people stroking each other about how good they are. But the one comment I really liked was the comment he made about Jake Tapper leaving the media to join CNN.
Yeah.
Whatever.
I thought, well, that was a clever line. That was a clever line, even coming from Obama. That would have been great. It would have been better coming from somebody like anybody else, but
well, you know what? I watched it because I knew it was going to be funny. What I didn't know was that the only funny part of the thing was Obama. The rest of it was just irritating and disappointing.
Well, so you're just setting yourself up you're just working your way into your dental appointment is all you're doing.
Yeah. It was painful, absolutely.
Well, yeah, I could see your dentist doing that. So to lessen the pain of the injections we're going to give you right now, Bob, we're going to put you in total agony by watching Barack Obama doing stand-up comedy.
Well, it could just
you know, this could be worse. Instead of it being an oral surgeon, it could be a proctologist. I could really have a problem, right?
Well, here's a thought. I'll give you. Here's something I'll give you, Bob. I'll give you a little softball lob here.
Are we back to vasectomies again?
Well,
oh gee.
If we look beyond the Republican primary, and just for the sake of argument here, we're going to say that Trump ends up pulling this off. We'll know tomorrow. We'll know after the Indiana primary whether or not Trump is going to be able to pull in the delegates he needs. To be able to, you know, go into the convention and say, hey, I did this all fair and square. He's won enough of the states now, 50% or more, that I think he's only one short now. And that could happen, you know, in any of the remaining 10 states that are taking place here. So,
well, you know what? Hillary certainly thinks he's going to win because all of a sudden she's changed her entire focus, and Donald Trump is it.
Well, that's one of the things I'm leading up to here is the fact that the left is already pretty sure that Trump is going to be the nominee because
it's not going to be George. It's not going to be Bush.
Yeah, and it isn't going to be Kasich. Those two things we've ruled out Kasich. We've ruled out Bush now, and but however this thing plays out, I was just reading today that actually. The polls out there, Rasmussen poll says that Trump is up by 2 points over Hillary, and everybody else is always saying, you know, she's going to trounce him, you know, like by 30 points or something like that. And I'm kind of curious how you see what would a debate between Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump look like?
Oh my! You know what? I think it's going to be a cat fight. I was going to say it was going to be a cat fight. Yeah, it'll probably be a cat fight. You know, Hillary Clinton. Say whatever you want to say about her. She does know how to fight. Whether or not she'll be fair about it or whether or not she'll make any sense, I have no clue. But the nice part about these debates is we have two people that are not shy. They're going to go for the jugular, and that's going to be fun. Normally, I would say like the same kind of a thing that Bill Maher had said, and that is that I'm not going to watch anything until November. But you know what? In this case, I think it's going to be quite a show. It'll be worth watching. It certainly give us some subject matter for our broadcasts.
Well, you know, I'm wondering, you know, I can hear the Clinton campaign doing this, kind of like, well, you know, your wife is an ex-porn star, and I can see
she's a cheater and a felon, and
I can see
to be jailbird.
I can see Trump shooting back at her, and your husband watches her all the time, you know.
You know, I'm wondering if Hillary's going to bring Monica Lewinsky in to kind of campaign for her.
Well, no, Trump is floating it out there. One of his aides came out last week and said this is fair game. They're talking about Trotton. If she goes after the sexist thing, they're saying, yeah, we'll just bring Monica out here and we'll remind everybody what sexism looks like.
Oh, you know what? Just gives a whole new meaning to a cigar humidor, right?
Oh yeah, I mean it's yeah. Somebody was suggesting the other day that they should use the Pink Floyd number, "Have a Cigar," as the campaign song. You know.
What you know? What I mean? Now that we've got visitors going to Cuba for the first time today, I guess a cruise ship landed there. There's no reason we couldn't bring some better cigars since we have better humidors now.
Oh, Carnival Cruise Lines. There you go. Yeah.
Anyway.
Hey, who was greeting him? A bunch of plainclothes operatives for Fidel and his buddies. Just checking to see who's coming off the boat.
Well, you know what? Fidel is so disappointed. He thinks that this is really going to be the end of communism. He doesn't know what's going to happen.
Yeah, well, he hasn't been paying attention to American politics.
Exactly. Hey, listen, guys, let's go on a short break, and then when we come back, we can continue this conversation.
All right, we'll be right back, folks. Stay with us right here at the Conservative Syndicate. Don't go.
You can catch all our archives at theconservativesyndicate.net. The Conservative Syndicate. Real conservative talk from real conservatives.
Term life insurance. It can be a powerful way to protect your assets and your family. You work hard to earn and save your money to build a nest egg for the future. Don't let it get wiped out because you didn't plan ahead. Take the time now and make a small investment in $500,000 or more in quality term life insurance. Call the Term Lifeline and let us shop the best companies to give you the lowest rates. We specialize in policies of $500,000 and above. Ask about some of our 10 and 20-year fixed rate plans with guaranteed rates. Call the Term Lifeline right now for your free insurance quote. 800-870-3609. 800-870-3609. You owe it to yourself to protect your family and your assets. Make term life insurance part of that plan. Call the Term Lifeline right now. 800-870-3609. 800-870-3609.
Hey folks, if you're like me, you don't place a whole lot of trust in today's media for the real truth and facts regarding the volatile world of finance and politics. When I want the real scoop on money, I go to the most trusted source I know, my good friend and colleague, Bob Cardoso. Bob is a noted expert with a PhD in international finance who airs his nationally known, globally syndicated show, Robert Cardoso Live, daily, Monday through Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific Time. With Bob, you'll get the right information at the right time from someone who knows his business and can help you make the right decision concerning yours. Again, Bob airs daily, Monday through Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific Time. Visit his website at robertcardosolive.com for information regarding stations and topics. That's robertcardosolive.com. Check Bob out. You'll be glad you did. Hey, we're back. You're listening to the Conservative Syndicate, real conservative talk from real conservatives, and we're glad you took the time to join us. Remind you, visit our website, theconservativesyndicate.net, theconservativesyndicate.net, and pick up the archive of this show or any of our shows. Find out about our people, our panel, what we do, and why we do it. Theconservativesyndicate.net. And we're going to get back with our good buddy here, Bob Cardoso, finish up our segment with him today. We're talking about the riots up in Northern California this weekend at the GOP convention. And, we were just commenting at the beginning of the show about how there's no coverage. And lo and behold, during the commercial break, I guess somebody heard me, and all of a sudden I see this massive posting of articles suddenly about the convention that took place this weekend. Just in the last, somebody's listening to our show and not letting us know, that kind of thing. Todd Starnes, and I had talked about the picture of the 8-year-old up there with the sign, "Make America Mexico Again."
I didn't hear you say that.
Here's Todd Starnes over at Fox News, and lo and behold, the title of his article, "Make America Mexico Again: Why Americans Are Fed Up with Illegals." And they're showing pictures of 8, 9-year-old kids sitting out here flipping off bypassers in their car. F you, all the good things that make a Democrat what a Democrat is today. I'm sorry. This is not the convention in California. This is the Indiana convention. It's taking place as we talk right now.
Oh,
okay. This is going on I'm sorry. I should have read down a couple more lines. I get that. Sometimes I fall in that same trap of most people that follow politics today. They read the headlines and that's as far as they go. But it's this is taking place in Indiana as we speak. Okay,
Indiana.
Yeah, gee, I wonder why. It could be.
It has something to do with a primary tomorrow.
It'll be awake tomorrow night.
Yeah. So we'll see how this all comes down tomorrow, especially if Trump wins. Now, I want to take this.
You haven't said a word. I don't know how many times I've given you an opportunity to go after me because I keep telling you I'm a Trump supporter. I really think he's got a real shot at cleaning house and getting into the White House. The only sad part about this is that his lifestyle is going to have to come down a little bit.
I've always walked cautiously around you since the first time you told me you thought Obama was an okay guy.
That has nothing to do with him being president.
Back in the day, you thought he was kind of an okay guy, and I've always thought.
Listen, we all make mistakes.
Yeah, well, I've always thought, be careful what you say. You never know when this guy's going to go completely off the edge. Okay.
The internet is forever, people.
Okay, so anyway, here's my point here. Now, I think if Indiana tomorrow, if Trump does win this, I think it's pretty much over in terms of how the delegates are going to come down. Even if Cruz is able to put something together out here in California, I don't know if it'll be enough to stop what's happening right now. But the other side of this thing is if they're already prepping up here for these riots, they're not protests, they're riots. And I'm just wondering, should Trump pull this off tomorrow and win in Indiana? Right now, I think it's pretty much a crapshoot. I know the media is out there trying to play it up, that Trump's ahead by anywhere from 12 to 15 points, depending on what poll you're looking at. But then I'm hearing everything on the other side, too. Cruz is doing okay, too. So I think tomorrow we won't really know until after everything's in. But
we'll know about 2 minutes after the polls close.
Yeah. When we have 10% of the results in, and we'll call the election, that kind of thing. Let's make sure we give enough time for the protesters to start tearing up the streets up there.
Well, you know what concerns me more than the protesters, because I think they're all a lot of mental idiots anyway for doing that kind of stuff. But here's what really bothers me. What really bothers me is Hillary has already started her general campaign. She's already got people in place. She's keeping things going. She's keeping people in place in the primary states that haven't gone yet. Donald Trump has yet to start anything for the general.
Well, it's not going to really make any difference because, like I said, this is going to be when this gets to the general election, it's going to be two people throwing the exact same insults at each other for doing exactly the same thing they've been doing. This isn't. There's going to be no conversation here about Trump being a conservative and about Hillary Clinton being a pragmatic progressive who wants to get things done. It's not going to be about that because neither one of them really want their record exposed. This is going to be all personal stuff. It's going to be very little about policy. It's going to be probably, I think, the most intense mudslinging contest we've seen since the last election. But I don't think this is going to be about. This is not going to be about policy or anything else once we get to this point, because the truth of the matter is that the people following either one of these candidates, present company excluded. I'll give you this right now, Bob. This is not. There's no reason in any of this. Everything is total emotion right now. Everything is total emotion. Everything is, I want to throw you down and beat your face in, and it's on both sides of the aisle here. We're not talking about this on the left here. We've got all these people that are out here with the Black Lives Matter and these now the Hispanic movement out here is probably La Raza, people like that. These are all Bernie Sanders people. They want violent overthrow of the government. We were talking about this earlier. This is the revival, the resurrection of the Black Panther Party and the Weather Underground. This is where this is going. This is where it's going to go. And on the right, we've got the Trumpsters who, if you just tweak them the wrong way on the wrong day, you're going to have a mass civil confrontation out on the streets. And the candidates are both going to sit back there in their rooms, and they're both going to love it. They're both going to eat it up. I don't care how you want to paint it, how you want to put it out there in the media. The candidates are both playing on something here. We're going
to have the great celebrity and the great deceiver on the same stage at the same time.
And this is going to make the '68 convention in Chicago look like a revival.
Well, you know what? You got to admit, this is going to be exciting. I can't hardly wait.
Well, I don't know. I don't find it very exciting when we start talking about bloodshed and stuff. But I understand the gist of what you're saying. I'm not.
Yeah, I'm not. No, I'm not talking about the riots. I wouldn't encourage that at all.
And within all of it, you're going to have Barack Obama sitting there with that smirk on his face, like he did at the Correspondents' Dinner, just eating it all up, going, "My job is done here." You know. That's how I see it coming down. I don't see anything positive about this. The establishment is still shaking in the wings. At least the GOP establishment is still shaking in the wings. And I just couldn't believe now at this point they're rooting for Hillary. There's nobody.
They absolutely are.
Yeah, there's nobody in the establishment that does not want Hillary at this point, because Hillary will return everything to normal. Everything will fall back into its normal slot. Everybody's going to get paid off. The establishment will still do what they do. They'll adjust to whatever she tries to do. Congress will still try to tell us that they need the majority to be able to do anything and not do anything except cave to whatever she wants, one way or the other. They want business as usual. Hillary is the only one that can restore business as usual. And that's how I see it playing out here now. How that affects the voters, how the electorate, what that looks like after this is all over is anybody's guess. But as far as the candidates themselves, the political parties, the way that they're structured within their respective establishments, there's going to be absolutely no change there, none whatsoever. And so all this rhetoric is just for the purpose of dividing and conquering. That's how I see it. I know that's a negative way of looking at things, but I can't see it any other way. I just can't. So if you can, enlighten me, because I just don't see it.
Well, yeah, no, I'm with you.
And what about you, Joe?
I just think it's going to be just absolutely awesome. I mean, the Romans had the Colosseum, and then they had lions and Christians and that kind of thing. So we can't have that. So we're going to have the presidential campaign of 2016. It's going to be right up there with that. It's going to be.
Hey, Joe, that's a great idea. On the opening day of the.
Well, we got the LA Coliseum sitting out here empty. The only time they use it anymore is for Special Olympics.
Maybe we could kill 10,000 Democrats.
Yeah. Well, it ain't going to be Democrats they torch.
Yeah, never mind.
Anyway, guys, I got to run. People keep calling in here and they're interrupting both of our broadcasts.
Okay.
So
we're at the end of the segment.
Have a good one, and we'll talk to you next week.
All right. You guys make sure that you catch Robert Cardoso over at robertcardosalive.com for his broadcast times and where he's out there. He's out there around there, not as much as we are, but he's out there. So anyway, guys, that's our segment here with Bob, and we're going to go to a break here right now. Time for Edward's Notebook, and then we'll pay some bills. We'll be back, and we'll get into a different discussion on some different things here. Stay with us right here at the Conservative Syndicate.
Time to get serious about dealing with those who are on a non-stop mission to destroy the West? Hello, I'm Ron Edwards. On today's page from the Edwards Notebook, the Daily Telegraph of England reported that British Prime Minister David Cameron warned that ISIS terrorists are considering to use drones to spray nuclear material over cities in the West. Of course, that report doesn't represent anything new or shocking in regards to the followers of the movement disguised as a religion that permits men to marry 9-year-old girls, behead and drown Christians in cages, and only considers black people as slaves and raisin heads without souls. And that's just scratching the surface. In fact, there is video footage that shows the ISIS Muslim terrorists testing drones for dirty bomb attacks. You won't hear it anywhere else but this page from the Edwards Notebook. But
It's probably the first time in over 3 centuries that a worldwide effort of evil is not being at least equally matched after numerous years of mass murderings, building bombings, and even spreading pedophilia in Afghanistan. America, the world is waiting for you to return to your position of strength and leadership. But like the generations of the past, our successful resurgence will not occur without seeking providential guidance for strength and wisdom. America, the time is now, so let's rise to the historic occasion. I'm Ron Edwards.
You can catch all our archives at theconservativesyndicate.net. The Conservative Syndicate. Real conservative talk from real conservatives.
When our water heater broke down last month, it was a nightmare. It took 5 hours for the plumber to show up, and he charged us a couple of $100 just to come out. Then it cost another $1,800 to put in the new water heater. By the time it was all said and done, I felt like I'd been taken. But what else could I do?
The smartest thing you can do is get a home warranty from American Residential Warranty. Their home warranties pay to repair or replace all your major appliances when they break, and they will break, and at the worst possible time. Call American Residential Warranty right now for free information on home warranties starting at just pennies a day. Don't wait for your refrigerator to stop running or your ceiling fans to stop turning. Call American Residential Warranty right now. Ask how you can save up to 50% on washer and dryer coverage. Just call 1-800-790-5960. That's 1-800-790-5960. Again, 1-800-790-5960. Call now.
Prices are for base buildings only. May not be available in some areas. Attention business owners, do you want a stimulus package that really works? Before you spend thousands of dollars more than you should on your next building project, listen to this. General Steel has a stimulus package designed to help you save as much as half the cost of conventional construction on your next building. As much as half. That's right, General Steel can save you thousands of dollars with a pre-engineered steel building designed for your business or church. How about a 50 by 100 foot building for under $30,000? So don't pay thousands more than you should without calling General Steel first and save as much as half the cost and time of conventional construction. With the projected demand for steel in Japan and China, prices may be skyrocketing.
877-927-3360. 877-927-3360. 877-927-3360.
Folks, if you're like me, you don't place a whole lot of trust in today's media for the real truth and facts regarding the volatile world of finance and politics. When I want the real scoop on money, I go to the most trusted source I know, my good friend and colleague, Bob Cardoso. Bob is a noted expert with a PhD in international finance who airs his nationally known, globally syndicated show, Robert Cardoso Live, daily, Monday through Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific Time. With Bob, you'll get the right information at the right time from someone who knows his business and can help you make the right decision concerning yours. Again, Bob airs daily, Monday through Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific Time. Visit his website at robertcardosolive.com for information regarding stations and topics. That's robertcardosolive.com. Check Bob out. You'll be glad you did.
Hey, all you can do is just tell the truth and trust in the American people that over time they're going to know what the truth is.
Yes, it is time for the truth. Right here, right now. This is the Conservative Syndicate. Real conservative talk from real conservatives. With your host, John Matthews.
The latter-day prophet, baying against the hypocrisies of our time.
And Joe Hakos.
You want answers. I want the truth. You can't handle the truth.
The Conservative Syndicate is comprised of some of the most informed pundits and activists available today. Together, we seek to tear down the imaginary wall, a separation between church and state through education, information, and engagement on the religion of politics and the politics of religion. And now, your host on the globally syndicated Conservative Syndicate, John Matthews and Joe Hakos.
Okay, and we are back. Hour 2 here at the Conservative Syndicate, coming to you coast to coast. Globally syndicated, nationally acclaimed, the Conservative Syndicate, real conservative talk from Real Conservatives. And I am your host, John Matthews, along with Joe Hakos, my co-host. And Joe and I, between us, we have the coast covered. He's out there in Florida. I'm out here in California. And latitude-wise, we're probably pretty close on the same latitude. Yeah, pretty much. Anyway, listen, I want to kind of tie up our segment that we were doing in the first hour. Actually, drug on the first hour here. And Joe had posed a question here. When we talk about this, when we talk about whether it be the rioters out there at Trump rallies, whether we talk about the lack of coverage of Ted Cruz, whether we talk about Uncle Bernie or Hillary Clinton, whatever combination that you want to, however you want to mix and match it. When we talk about this stuff, when we talk about the establishment, who is the ones behind the scenes pulling the strings and doling out the money and all that kind of stuff, Joe was posing this question as to who really is the target of the establishment. Who is the establishment actually running against? Are they running against Trump or Cruz or Clinton or Sanders? And I'll give the question to Joe because I know he's got the answer. But his question, he can provide the answer. Go, Joe.
So who is the establishment really against? Who have they been battling against all this time? All the angst they have. They're angry. They're angry and they're against the American voter, especially the Republican side. They're angry at the Republicans that have taken their chosen establishment candidates and told them to go suck an egg, right. I.e. the Jeb Bush, the Kucinich, or Kasich, Kucinich, yeah, no, the Kasich, those guys. They said, no, we don't want those guys. We don't want your establishment candidate. We tried that for 2 presidential elections, and it got us nowhere, and you guys didn't do what you said you were going to do after the last midterm election. You stood and gave Obama everything he wanted. You'd never stand up and fight for him, against him. In fact, you're fighting for him. You're funding everything he wants. So the establishment's like, well, we're just going to go ahead and throw a temper tantrum, and we're not going to be for Trump, and we're not going to be for Cruz. We're going to be against that, and we don't really care. And if you think it's silly, I point to an article written by George Will on April 29th, just the other day, and here, if Trump is nominated, the GOP must keep him out of the White House. Well, who
exactly.
the hell is out? Who would be left?
Yeah. You see, it
get nominated. Who's left? Hillary.
Yeah. The irony of this whole thing, let's circle back to the beginning of the show. This letter that we received from Mitch McConnell, supposedly written, composed, and sent to Mitch McConnell, who then forwards it out to the Republican electorate, the voting bloc out here, as if to say, well, both of us think this way, so it's like super important, that kind of thing. And what do they espouse? They once again marginalize us, insult our intelligence by sitting there and saying, yeah, we Republican leaders, in order to pass conservative legislation to get our country back on the road, need to retain the majority in the Senate and the House. Okay, that's the pitch. Okay, completely disregarding, looking out the window. Just look out the window. It's kind of like the hippy dippy weatherman. Remember George Carlin's hippy dippy weatherman? I always liked the way he did the weather. Tonight's weather, dark. Continued dark, followed by widely scattered light in the morning, that kind of thing. If you just looked out the window and you could see the protest, or just turn on your TV and you can see that the people aren't buying this stuff anymore. The people aren't, and instead of looking at that and saying perhaps we should pander to the people that have elected us, that we always marginalize but ask for money during the election process, maybe we should actually try to do something to at least appease us, at least sedate us, at least placate us, do maybe something. Throw us a freaking bone,
Yeah, but, Trump has gone out and got 2 million more voters than any other Republican ever in history in this process, and yet they're like, oh, we got to keep him out of the White House.
Right, which means, as we've been contending here, that they would rather have Hillary Clinton in the White House because it brings everything back to normal.
Yeah, very normal.
Everybody can go back to their secret hiding places and dole out their monthly checks to their supporters or to their politicians, the people they've bought off, whoever they may be, whatever the amount is, and everything just kind of goes back into normal, except when the next election cycle comes up, and we once again received a letter. In order to accomplish Republican agenda, the conservative agenda, we need you to support us one more time. They insult our intelligence while taking our money, and then turn around and use our money against us. And what Joe is saying, they're upset that we've discovered it. That's the problem is that they're upset that, and yet I guess it caught them so off guard. They've got no other strategy but to just throw the same bag of bones back at us again.
Well, and say, hey, the hell with the presidency. Hey, keep us in the majority in the House and the Senate. We don't worry about that because here, as Will's putting it here in his little article, Trump probably would make Clinton the fourth, and probably as far as getting more than 50% of the total vote, which I don't think she's going to get anyway. But anyway, and he would be the tonic for her party, undoing the extraordinary damage, the 13 Senate seats, the 69 House seats, the 11 governorships, the 913 state legislative seats that Obama has done. Obama did that. No, conservatives went and elected Republicans in a vast majority and whooped on Democrats for it'll take decades to do it, and now that you don't have your Jebby or your Kasich or your chosen established candidate, you're going to rail against the outsiders, whoever they are. And so you're going to say, oh, the sky's going to fall. They're going to give that back to them.
Well, and the irony of this to me, the irony that I can't get away from is let's look at just for a second here. We got about a minute here left. Just think about this during our break here. If anybody represents the establishment better than Hillary Clinton, it would be Donald Trump. And I can't for the life of me figure out why they have not embraced this man, because he is a player just like they are a player. You would think, hey, but you know what it is? It's that Trump has come out and said this is what's going on. And I know it's been going on because I've been playing the game. And because I've been playing the game so long and I don't have anything left to lose anymore and I'm bored, so I'll run as a conservative and see if I can wrestle away the power from the very people who used to be my co-conspirators. And let's just see where we can go with this. This is what this is the lieutenant trying to overcome the Don at the head of the syndicate. That's what this is. This is the Gambinos, pissed off because they've been sold out. They've been betrayed by one of their own. We got to go to break. When we come back,
be just one giant hissy fit, John.
Huh?
It could be they're just having one giant hissy fit.
Yeah. I think that's the best way to describe it. We're gonna take our ball and go home because you're not playing the way that we want. We're not winning anymore, and that we just can't have that. We just can't have that. Yeah. We got to go to a break. When we come back, we'll continue here. We're going to go to a different topic here. I'm going to talk a little bit about the Supreme Court ruling here, or the pending Supreme Court ruling on immigration, Obama's amnesty bill, and there's a very important point to be made about this once again. So stay with us right here at the Conservative Syndicate. Don't go away.
You can catch all our archives at theconservativesyndicate.net. The Conservative Syndicate. Real conservative talk from real conservatives.
Prices are for base buildings only. May not be available in some areas. Attention business owners, do you want a stimulus package that really works? Before you spend thousands of dollars more than you should on your next building project, listen to this. General Steel has a stimulus package designed to help you save as much as half the cost of conventional construction on your next building. As much as half. That's right, General Steel can save you thousands of dollars with a pre-engineered steel building designed for your business or church. How about a 50 by 100 foot building for under $30,000? So don't pay thousands thousands more than you should without calling General Steel first and save as much as half the cost and time of conventional construction. With the projected demand for steel in Japan and China, prices may be skyrocketing.
877-927-3360. 877-927-3360. 877-927-3360.
Hey folks, if you're like me, you don't place a whole lot of trust in today's media for the real truth and facts regarding the volatile world of finance and politics. When I want the real scoop on money, I go to the most trusted source I know, my good friend and colleague, Bob Cardoso. Bob is a noted expert with a PhD in international finance who airs his nationally known, globally syndicated show, Robert Cardoso Live, daily, Monday through Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific Time. With Bob, you'll get the right information at the right time from someone who knows his business and can help you make the right decision concerning yours. Again, Bob airs daily, Monday through Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific Time. Visit his website at robertcardosolive.com for information regarding stations and topics. That's robertcardosolive.com. Check Bob out. You'll be glad you did.
Read something recently worth thinking about. It's the soldier, not the campus organizer, who's given us freedom to demonstrate. It's the soldier, not the reporter, who's given us freedom of the press. It's the soldier, not the poet, who's given us freedom of speech. It's the soldier who serves under the flag, who defends the protesters' right to burn the flag. Isn't it time now to demonstrate that we support our troops? Were it not for the brave, there'd be no land of the free.
Fred Thompson's message was brought to you by citizensunited.org.
Okay, hey, we're back. You're listening to none other than the Conservative Syndicate, Real Conservative Talk from Real Conservatives. I'm your host, John Matthews, along with Joe Hakos, my co-host. And I want to shift gears here. You remember last week we talked on and off about the pending Supreme Court ruling on Obama's amnesty executive orders called DACA. And the idea being behind his executive orders is to basically suspend deportation based on whatever premise or whatever predicate or what the word you want to use there, circumstances that Barack Obama has deemed humanitarian in some respects. The idea being is that although they are here illegally, they are lawfully present. You'll remember us presenting that as the argument that the advocate for the administration is floating before the Supreme Court. They're here illegally, but they're lawfully present. And the idea is that if their deportation has been suspended, then they are also entitled to receive some of the benefits of being American citizens. Of course, and we also had the IRS talking about their processing of illegal tax returns by illegals using American Social Security numbers, and the IRS is intent on better processing those returns, not prosecuting, processing those returns to ensure that the illegals that are using Social Security numbers of Americans illegally, but lawfully receiving refunds or tax benefits, and including, by the way, medical care, health care, and, of course, Social Security, okay, that kind of thing. So, and we were talking about that off and on here. And one of the things that is often really missed when we're talking about this kind of stuff and discussing it is the actual premise by which leftists make these kind of decisions. Now, let me just real briefly here review a case that we talked about last week, because it's worth talking about because of not how the Supreme Court ruled. Remember, we talked Hefferman versus the city of Patterson, a police officer who had been demoted at his job because his boss thought he was campaigning for a conservative mayor when he was seen by his co-workers bringing a campaign sign to his mother who was sick, and I guess she asked him to pick up a sign. His co-workers saw him with a sign. They thought he was actively campaigning for this guy. He ends up getting demoted, and the case ends up before the Supreme Court. Well, it wasn't the ruling of the Supreme Court that caught my eye, but and points out why where I'm going with this. Just hang with me here. One of those moments where you just got to hang with my madness for a minute. They were talking about the Supreme Court, the majority. When you read their argument or their opinion, everything, it wasn't about the law. It was about the intent. It was about how this guy, he was being robbed of his rights to campaign, even if he wasn't campaigning, and his supervisors overstepped their boundaries of authority, even though they weren't really overstepping their boundaries of authority. But the general opinion of the majority in this case was basically it didn't really have anything to do with law. It had to do with perception. Okay, I guess that's the word I was looking for. Perception. Okay,
they felt it needed to be done. They felt it needed to be done. We need to give this guy justice.
Right. It says here. He says Stephen Breyer, the justice who wrote, he said the text of the First Amendment and the relevant federal statute that governs when one can bring suit in light of a violation of one's constitutional rights. In Section 42 U.S.C., it says anyone who is deprived of a right secured by the Constitution. Justice Breyer explained that the text of the law, here it is, the text of the law and the relevant Supreme Court precedents are not clear as to whether the right depends on actual activity. Now, I want you to, the key words there are relevant Supreme Court precedents, okay? Yeah. What he's saying here is...
Not the law.
Not the law, not the Constitution, but on previous rulings by the court. Okay, so what's happened here? See, this is something that Steve Rasmussen brings this out in his book, Mad as Hell. He says what's happening here is the Supreme Court no longer makes rulings based on Constitution or law. They make it based on other cases. They go out and they look at other cases. And one of the things that you see coming from the liberal side of the Supreme Court is it's not about so much about whether you're violating the Constitution, whether you're actually breaking the law. It's about how things are today. It's about interpreting the Constitution in terms of it being a living, breathing document that has to change with the times. And that's why we can make this accusation that the Supreme Court is legislating from the bench. They're taking law and the Constitution and any laws derived based on the Constitution and saying basically, well, it's not really about the law. It's about the justice behind the law. Well, then if you're going to use that kind of phrase, then you have to redefine what justice means in order to present a legal argument, at least the appearance of a legal argument, that what you're making is actually based on law, even though it isn't based on law. Okay, so it's like it kind of in some ways relates to this idea of, well, it's illegal, but they're lawfully present.
And it's always an opinion.
Right. It says here. Now, Breyer goes on. I want to read this one little quote here. He says, in light of this ambiguity, and let me read the whole paragraph here so you can get it in context. Justice Breyer explains that the text of the law, meaning, I guess in this case, that public employees cannot campaign for political office. They cannot campaign for those running for political office. So that's basically the law that we're talking about here. The text of the law and the relevant Supreme Court precedents are not clear as to whether the right depends on actual activity, like Hefferman's apolitical delivery of the sign to his mother, meaning he just delivered a sign, or the motive of the government agent that abridges the constitutional right, like the supervisor who believed that Hefferman was engaged in political expression. In light of this ambiguity, see, it's defined as an ambiguity rather than an absolute. The majority looks to the text of the First Amendment, which says that Congress shall make no law abridging the freedom of speech. The First Amendment, Justice Breyer explains, focuses on the activity of the government and proscribes the superior's constitutionally harmful policy, whether Hefferman did or did not, in fact, engage in political activity. Now, what it says is the majority assumes that the supervisor's interference with political speech was constitutionally impermissible, but the justices noted that there are exceptions that allow restrictions on the speech of government employees. Okay, it goes on to define that. But here's where I wanted to go with this. The dissent is what caught my eye. Justice Clarence Thomas and Samuel Alito noted that nothing this guy did even fell under the auspice of what this law was even about.
Yeah.
He in no way was his rights violated because he hadn't done anything in which there could be a test as to whether his rights had been violated.
Yeah, so they were following what the law said.
Right, they were going by the law. Now, let me take it into the next context here. So what we got is the dissenters on this, Clarence Thomas and Samuel Alito, are sitting there saying there's nothing he did violated any law one way or the other, so this really shouldn't even have been a case to come before the court.
Bingo.
Okay, it shouldn't even have been there because there was no violation of law. And it was just how it was perceived. Perception is not the law. Perception is not the action. It's like circumstantial evidence is insubmittable in a court. Circumstantial evidence is this guy was seen carrying a sign. His supervisor interpreted that he was now politically active and demoted him for it. All based on all circumstantial evidence, no proof one way or the other. Alito and Thomas say there was no evidence that any act was committed that violated anybody's rights. Okay, period. The law, under the law, this was not even, it should have been dismissed. It should have been thrown out because there's no evidence of one way or the other. Okay, now we get back here real quick here to the actual immigration order, which is pending judgment by the Supreme Court. And I'm going to read from an article here by Keita Matos, who is the Director of Immigrant Rights and Racial Justice at the Center for Community Change. And she posted this, or he posted this, I don't know if it was a girl or a man, at the Hill, the Washington publication here. And he talks about sitting in a bus next to Irene, who, by the way, isn't a fictitious name, a young woman from Chicago who is visiting Washington, D.C. for the first time. And he talks about his conversation about this woman, that she was the offspring of illegal immigrants, and she was on her way to Washington to hear this proceeding, the hearing that was taking place, the arguments that were taking place on Obama's amnesty executive order. And she was on her way, and this reporter was riding with her on the bus. And it talks about her younger sister was born in the U.S., but the parents are undocumented. She's undocumented. And she wants to know if under Barack Obama's Deferred Action, Childhood Arrivals, DACA, whether she was going to be and her parents were going to be entitled to some type of rights, entitlements, benefits, whatever, for being here lawfully present, though illegally. Okay, so now I'm going to go down here and just read this. The author goes and presents his case, his or her case, as to what's going on here, the different arguments that have been presented, the different opinions that have been put out there, the political arguments behind it, but then comes out and says this: beyond these strictly legal matters, beyond the law, beyond what the law says, however, lies an even more powerful issue, that of justice. Okay, so the argument presented by this writer, who's the head of a justice organization for the left, is saying it's not the law that matters here. It's the issue from which the law was generated. The issue is that of justice, socioeconomic justice, that we have people here illegally but lawfully present that should be entitled to all the rights of a U.S. American citizen because even though they're here illegally, they're lawfully present. And it's the right thing to do. There's the echo from our president. It's the right thing to do. It's the humanitarian thing to do, is to let people violate the law, but allow them to remain here lawfully present, and at the same time go ahead and extend to them the same rights of citizens, because after all, that's the right thing to do. Their reasons for being here are justified and rationalized, and it doesn't matter whether there's a law that says you can't be here, you should not be here. That is irrelevant now. It's, well, you're here, you should be entitled to everything because you're here. You're lawfully present, though you're illegally here. And so the contention by the left is that the laws as defined by the Constitution and written with the idea of keeping social order and everything the way it should be, is redefined as being about opportunity. I'm sorry, I misread my notes here. Okay. The contention by the left is that laws as defined within the frame of the Constitution actually obstructs justice rather than upholds it. Opportunity is now redefined as affirmative entitlement or reparation. Okay, yeah. What we're saying now is the law, though the law is the law, we can't hold the law anymore as being relevant because there is something bigger than that. There's a bigger picture here, and that is justice. And that justice is redefined as what we should give to those who are here illegally but lawfully present. That makes sense? Did I say that right?
I hear you, yes.
Okay. It goes on to list several cases here to support this contention that the laws, as they're written on the books, of course, based on the Constitution, not constitutional in the sense of the intent and structure of the laws, but the Constitution as this is the framework for keeping social order in society, and therefore states and localities make their laws within that framework. They may not always be based on something the Constitution says, but within the intent of the Constitution of keeping government out of our lives and protecting the individual rights of citizens, not those coming in from over the border illegally. But this is all about protecting citizens. And what we have here is this socioeconomic argument is that we should be extending humanitarily all the rights of citizens to people that have broken the law to get here. Because even though they're here illegally, they are still lawfully present because our president has said, hey, it's okay. Don't worry about it.
And why is he doing it? He's not doing it because of compassion.
Right.
He's doing it because it's a whole voting block for his party.
Right. And what does that do? See, in the same way the Republicans marginalize us with their little donation offerings and everything, illegals and people like this are marginalized by the liberal establishment as being useful and therefore exploited. But then once they get what they want, these illegals are put on the shelf just like we conservatives are. There's no difference.
Well, if you look at the black community, they've been used and abused, and they're not being pandered to anymore as much as the illegals and the Hispanic vote is now by the Democrats.
Right, exactly. See, you notice how
they've been used up. Their usefulness is over, according to them. So they're just going to move on to the next one. So there you go.
Yeah, and we see that evidently with the black community. They've been outside of Black Lives Matter. They've been pushed to the back. You're not hearing anything about what Clinton's going to do for the black community. It's now all about the Hispanics because that's the demographic they need right now. Hispanics and homosexuals. Those are the demographics that need pandering right now. We got to go to break. Sorry to cut this short here. We're over. We got to go to break. When we come back, we'll continue this. I want to get Joe's take on this. I just gave a bunch of stuff here. Joe has a way of simplifying it in a much better frame. So stay with us right here at the Conservative Syndicate. Don't go away. It's time for Moments of Madness. Donald Trump's current claims after his loss in the Colorado caucus that the establishment has rigged the primary against him is nothing more than political theater to keep his sheep enraged, the media entranced, and his opposition neutralized. Trump and his campaign people knew the rules, or should have known them. These rules Colorado has employed to pick their nominee have been around since 1912. So the idea they were designed to keep him from obtaining the required 1,237 delegates is as absurd as his candidacy itself. The fact there are those in Colorado now claiming disenfranchisement only exemplifies the Gruber theorem. The stupidity of the American voter is in full effect. That said, what does bear noting, what continually upsets the GOP political establishment is not Trump's audacious personality, his confrontational demeanor, or his lack of political understanding of policy outside the concept of deal-making. They have shown a propensity for working around ineptness for at least 5 decades now. What upsets the establishment is the fact Trump is an establishment type who has decided to double-cross his, up to this point, pretty much out-of-sight co-conspirators. The fervor that now runs as rampant through the GOP establishment as a streaker at the Super Bowl reminds me of the second adaptation of the movie The Manchurian Candidate, released in 2004, starring Liev Schreiber as former Sergeant and now Congressman Raymond Shaw, Denzel Washington as Major Bennett Marco, Shaw's former commanding officer, and Meryl Streep as Congressman Shaw's mother, Senator Eleanor Iselin. The 2004 film updated the conflict and brainwashing to the Persian Gulf War in 1991, emphasized the science fiction aspects of the story by setting the action in a dystopian near future, coincidentally implied to be 2008, had a U.S. corporation called Manchurian Global as a perpetrator of the brainwashing and conspiracy instead of foreign communist groups, and dropped the Johnny Insulin character in favor of making both Shaw and his mother elected politicians. What I am reminded of when analyzing the current establishment reaction to Trump, and even Cruz to some degree, is an almost eerie portrayal of Shaw's mother, Eleanor, as an establishment type, willing to sacrifice her own son as a means to an end in the plot to have her own son become president by placing him on a ticket as VP, only to have the newly elected president assassinated on the night he wins the election, thus placing him in the White House, complete with a brain implant that causes him to do whatever his programmers want. I'm not saying Trump is a Manchurian candidate by any stretch. If he is, somebody certainly crossed their wires. I do, however, contend Trump is actually an establishment type that has decided to double-cross those with whom he once conspired, in this case the GOP establishment. In much the same manner, Congressman Shaw programmed his own assassination in lieu of the president-elect to put to an end the conspiracy to take over the government via a coup when he discovers he's being played as a pawn. It remains to be seen if Trump actually makes it all the way to the White House. I can't help but wonder if he does, who among the elites will be the one called to duty to take him out? Who knows? But then again, with all this going on, both sides of this contest, we might discover Uncle Bernie is really the Manchurian candidate. This is John Matthews for Moments of Madness.
You can catch all our archives at theconservativesyndicate.net. The Conservative Syndicate. Real conservative talk from real conservatives.
Term life insurance. It can be a powerful way to protect your assets and your family. You work hard to earn and save your money to build a nest egg for the future. Don't let it get wiped out because you didn't plan ahead. Take the time now and make a small investment in $500,000 or more in quality term life insurance. Call the Term Lifeline and let us shop the best companies to give you the lowest rates. We specialize in policies of $500,000 and above. Ask about some of our 10 and 20-year fixed rate plans with guaranteed rates. Call the Term Lifeline right now for your free insurance quote. 800-870-3609. 800-870-3609. You owe it to yourself to protect your family and your assets. Make term life insurance part of that plan. Call the Term Lifeline right now. 800-870-3609. 800-870-3609.
Hey folks, if you're like me, you don't place a whole lot of trust in today's media for the real truth and facts regarding the volatile world of finance and politics. When I want the real scoop on money, I go to the most trusted source I know, my good friend and colleague, Bob Cardoso. Bob is a noted expert with a PhD in international finance who airs his nationally known, globally syndicated show, Robert Cardoso Live, daily, Monday through Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific Time. With Bob, you'll get the right information at the right time from someone who knows his business and can help you make the right decision concerning yours. Again, Bob airs daily, Monday through Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific Time. Visit his website at robertcardosolive.com for information regarding stations and topics. That's robertcardosolive.com. Check Bob out. You'll be glad you did. Okay, hey, we're back. The Conservative Syndicate, real conservative talk from real conservatives, and I want to thank you all for taking the time to join us this afternoon and being so loyal to us. We really appreciate it, and more than you could ever know. And we're so grateful that we have an ever-increasing audience that is actually looking for truth and not just the 5-minute commentaries on 30-second sound bites. That's so out there, so relevant today, all across talk radio on both sides of the aisle. Joe made a mention here before the break here as we were talking about this evolution of law turning into socioeconomic justice, meaning if the law obstructs some socioeconomic agenda or issue, then that law should be discontinued or disregarded. In the case of liberals, most of the time, it's just disregarded. Pay no attention to that man behind the curtain kind of thing. And Joe had mentioned the idea that what we have, the intent and end game of this, as is on both sides of the establishment, much more on the left, I think much more evident on the left than on the right, is the pandering and of voting blocks, demographics, picking a demographic and then pandering to that demographic through a divide and conquer strategy, making each demographic believe that everybody's against you, and without us in the government to help you, you don't stand a snowflake's chance in hell of ever gaining or obtaining the American dream. The opportunity isn't there for you unless we, the government, intercede against those who cling to their guns and religion and want to make this a theocracy, so to say, okay, that kind of thing. And lo and behold, I'm looking out here. I was reading a story here that I was using for this our last segment here, and I saw a little link on it, and I clicked on it, and lo and behold, what is it? It's an article about Obama amnesty creates loopholes for illegal immigrants to vote in elections. And it goes on to talk about how some of the states out there, now we talk about how here in California, where it's actually, we have mandatory voter registration now when you go down and get a license, and you can be an illegal out here and get a license. And so you can be registered to vote automatically, unless you, quote unquote, opt out. Washington, I believe, has just also done the same thing. They've just put in a mandate that everybody must register to vote, that kind of thing. But then we have this article is pointing to Ohio and Kansas are telling us now that they don't have the resources to vet anybody that registers a vehicle or gets a driver's license, and they also have voter registration. So their clerks are required to ask people if they want to register to vote, but they have no way of vetting whether the person, if they say yes, if they're here illegally. And that's just, I believe it. Here's an even bigger one: Social Security numbers. They can issue Social Security numbers now because they have no way of vetting whether the person is here legally or not. Now, I don't know how that happens. I know when I got my Social Security number, I had to produce a birth certificate. But apparently you don't have to do that anymore. So
apparently it's not needed, I guess, anymore. I don't know. You had to do this thing that says you're legally allowed to be in the country. But no, to get a job, but it's no. I guess you don't need that anymore either. The E-Verify program.
Yeah. I guess it's because again, pandering. Let's start. You're pandering to the in the beginning. You're pandering to the black community. That's what the whole voter ID thing is about. These people don't have birth certificates. They can't get ID. They're so poor they can't make it into the city to get an ID. That kind of thing.
To go get a free government issued ID. They're just too damn stupid. Oh, we should don't worry about that. But they're not calling them dumb.
Yeah. That's really is. You're incapable of doing what you're supposed to do by law. So you can even be legally here and unlawfully present. I guess.
Absolutely. Because you know what? Because we must make it easier for them.
Yeah.
Because to do anything else, the outcome would be a moral outrage if we don't allow this to happen. Meanwhile, back at the ranch, actual American citizens are being voted out of any of their rights by voter fraud perpetrated by the government.
Yeah, and so, I think this is a much bigger issue than whether or not Trump has enough delegates or how many more voters he has. Is the American electorate being disenfranchised by the establishment through the system of primaries and everything else? That's irrelevant when you look at the fact that what's happening here is this building onslaught of allowing illegals to vote by the created loopholes of things like Obama's amnesty order.
Well, when you look at things like what McDonald did over there in Virginia when he allows 200,000 felons, he gives them their voting rights back.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So
Josh Bernstein was reporting on that for us.
So I think a lot of people are squawking about the wrong stuff. If you're worried about how delegates are being proportioned and how they're being selected and everything, you should look at the much bigger picture. That delegates aren't going to mean anything if all they can do is just bus in the voters from out of state. That kind of thing, where that could happen.
Absolutely. And this straw man that this author gave us here, Miss Irene, whatever. I mean, poor Irene. But meanwhile, back in the real world, here in California, the other Friday, quote unquote protesters, some whom wore bandanas over their faces and carried Mexican flags, are out protesting Donald Trump, who is obviously against illegal immigration.
Right.
Illegal immigration.
Right. And see, here again, this is the slant, how this comes out here. Let's take this real quick and let's compare this to the transgender bathroom bills that we've been listening about over the last couple of weeks.
I would understand something. Where else do you see people wearing bandanas over their faces?
Right.
Oh, I know where. When I see the ISIS people out there running around, any terrorist runs around, they have bandanas. They keep their face covered. What are these people then? They're not protesters then.
Yeah, right. Exactly. And I using the comparison when we say the transgender argument here, okay, the idea that somebody dressed up like a woman, and there are a lot of transgender people out there that probably look better as women as they do than they do as men. Okay, I grant that. They go into the bathrooms and everybody's like, see, these people are Caitlyn Jenner and all these other people. They're out there taking selfies of themselves in the bathrooms. See, I'm hearing no children being molested. Oh, you're not the ones we're talking about. Okay, we're talking about the genderqueers, the guys out there with makeup and a beard and that kind of stuff. We're talking about child molesters that can just they don't need to be dressed as anything. They just say, I'm a transgender, I'm going to go into the bathroom. It's the same thing here with the illegals. We're not talking about people that are here trying to do things the right way. We're talking about the ones that are here to take advantage of the wrong way because they're here illegally, but they've been granted lawful presence, and so they're going to take advantage of everything because that's what illegals do. I don't care if you're here. I don't care what your intent is. Your intent is, okay, I want to take care of my family, fine, but you're still here illegally. And so the idea of socioeconomic justice and the right thing to do and everything, the right thing to do is to apply for immigration papers and come across the border legally. That's the right thing to do.
Yes, and that's what little Miss Straw Woman Irene could have done with her freaking life of, gee, she didn't know. She realized when she was in high school. Well, that's when you should have started working on your immigration status then.
Right. I know this from personal experience. If you're here illegally, and you walked into an immigration office right now, an immigration law office, and said, I'm here illegally, I need some help to get here legally, I guarantee you lawyers would jump on it like white on rice. They would because that's what they do. I've seen it done. I've got people in my family that have gone through this, and I've watched the process. Now, it costs you some bucks, but you'll get into the system the right way, and you won't have to hide. You won't have to rely on somebody like Barack Obama buying your soul with food stamps, okay? That it won't have to happen. It won't have to happen. Because a lot of times what you end up doing is you end up going before a judge and you present your case as to why you're not a risk for the government. You're not going to be a ward of the state. You're going to be able to provide for your family and everything else, and they will normally lean in your direction and grant you status. But if you're just here for all this stuff and you don't care about the legality of the issue, then, whatever happens to you happens, and it should be that way. We shouldn't be bending over backwards to make you feel accommodated because you're here illegally and you don't want to do what you have to do. Try it sometime. If you're out there illegally right now, you're listening to the show, go talk to a lawyer and see if they can't help you become legal. But don't sit here and continue to fill up our emergency rooms and our school classrooms and soak us dry on food stamps and all the other crap you do. That you want to know why we're pissed? That's why we're pissed. Not because you're a Mexican. We're pissed because you're here illegally draining our system and then spitting in our face while you're doing it.
Yeah. Absolutely, sitting there flipping everybody the bird as you protest.
Right, and guess what?
You wave your Mexican flag in front of us.
Yeah, and we're not going to make America Mexico again. You guys lost the war. Okay, that's the way it works.
Oh, it's a law. We got to ignore that law too.
Yeah, we
gave you. Don't worry about it.
And we gave you half your damn country back for free. So get off our back here. Okay, we got to go to break. We'll be right back. Stay with us right here at the Conservative Syndicate.
You can catch all our archives at theconservativesyndicate.net. The Conservative Syndicate. Real conservative talk from real conservatives.
Prices are for base buildings only. May not be available in some areas. Attention business owners, do you want a stimulus package that really works? Before you spend thousands of dollars more than you should on your next building project, listen to this. General Steel has a stimulus package designed to help you save as much as half the cost of conventional construction on your next building. As much as half. That's right, General Steel can save you thousands of dollars with a pre-engineered steel building designed for your business or church. How about a 50 by 100 foot building for under $30,000? So don't pay thousands more than you should without calling General Steel first and save as much as half the cost and time of conventional construction. With the projected demand for steel in Japan and China, prices may be skyrocketing.
877-927-3360. 877-927-3360. 877-927-3360.
Hey folks, if you're like me, you don't place a whole lot of trust in today's media for the real truth and facts regarding the volatile world of finance and politics. When I want the real scoop on money, I go to the most trusted source I know, my good friend and colleague, Bob Cardoso. Bob is a noted expert with a PhD in international finance who airs his nationally known, globally syndicated show, Robert Cardoso Live, daily, Monday through Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific Time. With Bob, you'll get the right information at the right time from someone who knows his business and can help you make the right decision concerning yours. Again, Bob airs daily, Monday through Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific Time. Visit his website at robertcardosolive.com for information regarding stations and topics. That's robertcardosolive.com. Check Bob out. You'll be glad you did. Okay, all right. Hey, we're back. We're back. You're listening to the Conservative Syndicate. We're coming up on the end of the show here, so I thought let's lighten up a little bit. All right, let's lighten up. We've been going full, steady white man rant all for almost 2 hours now.
So
much so my throat is sore. Hang on a second.
I could go some more.
But we got one for you here.
I can go some more. It's okay.
Yeah, we got. Oh yeah, we're far from done. I mean, it's only Monday. But I want to do this. In some ways, I want to dedicate this segment here to our little chat group out there at Shake and Wake Radio. I think you guys will get a kick out of this. And last week we talked about former Speaker of the House John Boehner talking about or making reference to the fact that Ted Cruz was Lucifer in the flesh and the most miserable SOB in his life that he's ever had to work with. It's I think in some ways, and that's so telling of what Boehner is upset about in terms of, I guess, being exposed for the 25, 28 years that he was in Congress, trying to present himself as one of these conservatives that Mitch McConnell tells us we need to retain in the chambers to be able to pass conservative legislation. But the irony of this, the poetic justice of this, it's just, this is funny. You want to explain what happened here, Joe?
I just like to say I love the smell of sulfur in the morning.
Yeah, it smells like victory,
Yes.
Well, anyway, he told the crowd that he'd never worked with a more miserable SOB, referring to Ted Cruz, and he was basically Lucifer in the flesh. But Boehner has, obviously, he's got some kind of ongoing beef with Cruz. And it's probably the fact that Cruz was one of the guys instrumental in orchestrating a government shutdown, and that just made Boehner look too bad. Apparently, maybe, Obama limited the number of drinks he could have at the meeting or something like that. I don't know how that all worked out. But anyway, and then establishment type Representative Peter King agreed with Boehner's assessment, but he said that such a comparison gives Lucifer a bad name.
Yes.
Well, okay. So, but guess
another dig at Cruz. Yes.
Okay. Well, here's the irony, or this is the humor behind it.
Yes.
The Satanic Temple agrees with Representative Peter King. On Thursday, a spokesman for the Satanic Temple came out and made it clear that they want nothing to do with Cruz. Because why? Well, Cruz is a Christian. He's against everything Satanism stands for. Okay.
Well, they called him a fake Christian, though.
Oh, fake Christian. Well, okay.
Which would be more in line with what they are.
Yeah, well, and here it is. Maybe they just saw an opportunity to come out and get some publicity, 15 seconds of fame or something like that, by saying he's against everything Satanism stands for. He's a fake Christian. Well, what are Satanists?
That's my point, yes.
Yeah. You would think if he's a fake Christian, you should be out there endorsing him. You know, think about this for a minute. If Ted Cruz is a fake Christian, shouldn't the Satanic Temple be out there endorsing him? Wouldn't you want a fake Christian in there?
I'm not sure Mr. Cruz or his dad would appreciate that, but
okay,
I get your point.
Okay, but they go out there and they say Cruz's failures of reason, compassion, decency, and humanity are products of his Christian pandering, if not an actual Christian faith. But yet he's a fake Christian. And where does Satanists get off with wanting compassion, decency, and humanity anyway?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so maybe the Satanic Temple has its own establishment.
Oh yeah, you're not a full blown.
I think about this. Maybe their own establishments out there. They don't want Cruz in there because he's a fake Christian, and but he's compassionate. He has decency and is humane. We don't want that, and it's all because of his Christian pandering, which, by the way, is fake. That sounds like such a contradiction in terms. It's like somebody said, "Hey, we got an opportunity to say something here," but nobody thought it through.
You're not satanic enough.
Yeah, you're not. Yeah. Okay, you're not the Satanic Temple. You aren't satanic enough. If you're worried about reason, compassion, decency, and humanity, then you have no business being in the Satanic Temple. If I understand the Satanic Temple to be about the destruction of all this, in order to rise up and worship your God, would be Lucifer, right? Or Satan, however you want to, whatever name you want to.
Not only is Ted Cruz destroying the Republican Party, he's destroying the Satanic Temple as well.
It's just funny. The last line of the article I found funny. It says, and neither will Satanists will have nothing to do with any of them. Graves added, of course, referring to Ted Cruz or any establishment Republicans. And neither will establishment Republicans have anything to do with Ted Cruz. They all have something in common. Okay, who says Republicans can't find common ground? Apparently, the Republican establishment has found common ground with the Satanic Temple in that none of them want anything to do with Cruz. And for all the wrong reasons, for all the right reasons, however you want to interpret that. But it just shows us here that, like I said, maybe the Satanic Temple has its own establishment. And by the way, I wouldn't be surprised if John Boehner hangs out there if he happens to know who Lucifer is.
Oh, he probably sells them some wine for their little procedures and little.
Anyway,
he probably sings songs with them.
I just thought the whole thing was so funny. It's just so funny.
It's funny. It just shows you the lunacy of this whole election season. I mean, it's so much of circus that we got Satanists that are pissed off about stuff.
We have Satanists pissed off about the work of Satan going on in the country. There you go.
It's ridiculous. Yes, unbelievable.
Yeah, you guys are giving us a bad name.
Yes. Stop it, Mr. Cruz.
Anyway, guys, we're coming up at the end of the show here. I just thought we'd leave a little levity there because we all know where that's going to all end up at. They're all going to end up in the smoking section. So it is 6 and 1 have another. And Boehner, maybe that's it. Boehner hangs out. He's a chain smoker. That's it. He hangs out in the smoking section. That makes sense. Okay, got it. All right, we got it down. All right, guys, we'll be back tomorrow.
Yes.
I believe Don Dix from Act for America should be with us tomorrow. I'm pretty sure we've set something up. I'm just confirming with him that he'll be coming on every week instead of every other week. And we got more for you tomorrow. I mean, a lot going on. Primary tomorrow in Indiana. That'll be fun. So stay tuned to us tomorrow, 3 o'clock out on the West Coast, 6 o'clock on the East Coast. God love you. We love you. And we'll talk to you tomorrow. Thanks for tuning in to this edition of the Conservative Syndicate, the globally syndicated, politically incorrect talk show that seeks to tear down the imaginary wall of separation between church and state. We want to make you aware you can find and access all of our show archives at our website, theconservativesyndicate.net, as well as our broadcast stations and times. That's the conservativesyndicate.net. We so appreciate you taking time to tune in, and we so look forward to continuing to bring you the best and uncompromised talk radio available on the net today. And remember, folks, it doesn't matter how many times you get knocked down in life. It only matters how many times you get up. I'm John Matthews, signing off until next time, right here on the Conservative Syndicate. God bless you, and may God continue to bless America.